this is an object I create here. So if you see type of that, it seems to be dictionary. So these are your keys, these are your values. So if I want to know what are the keys here, A, B, C are the keys. And if I go for values here, I get the values here 1 to 8, right? A to G and 1 to 8, right? So only referring to one particular key here? Yes, of course you can do that. Just give that particular name whatever you have in your dictionary. So same way, how do you access for your data frame? You are doing that. Right? The same thing how you do it for your data frame. So the values can be repeated here, right? But whatever you have to do is you have to have these key names should be unique. Here if you give A, again if you give here A, it would not work. We should have unique keys and the keys must not be repeated, right? So as I told you, this is a dictionary object. You will have it in the braces which are flat. Flat braces is what you have to do. Now I have a data set. What is the data set we have here? MBA data set. So for any data, when you collect the data here, right, you have to first find out few things like the mean of the data, the median of the data, because as soon as you collect your, if I just open our mind map, let me just open my mind map. Here we go. So see here, we have understood the problem of our business, right? You want to just give entry to the people for MBA data set. If I'm talking, the objective is that to understand how many people have scored good marks, that is above 700. I want to find it out and give entry into my university. So later I understood it, so I collected the data. Then I do the third step, EDA part. So when I come to EDA, I should explore the data here. I should find out mean. I should find out median. I should find out the mode. So we all know that mean is nothing but the average, right? If mean is not giving good results, right? If it when you check mean here, there might be a chance that few values which will come across this mean, they're not correct. Maybe one value, like, if I say the people who are coming out of my university, they are drawing a salary of 1 crore. Right? That 1 crore is what is catchy to everyone. Right? That 1 crore is very catchy to everyone. So what happens here is that 1 crore is influencing the entire average, because mean is nothing but the representative of your data. It represents your data. So when you take it as an average, right, if that 1 crore is pulling your average to one side, that mean is not correct. So you resort yourself to median. That 1 crore is an outlier in your data. Maybe you have people drawing 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 60 lakhs, right? But that 1 crore, because of that 1 crore, your average is becoming a wrong calculation. For that reason, if that instances occur, you go for median. If your data is category, right? If you have a categorical data, happy, unhappy, sad, best, worst, all these are there in your data set. Then you calculate mode, right? That the value which is repeating for the maximum number of times is what will give you the mode. And your data can have one mode which is repeating, 2 different categories, greater than 3 categories. It depends. So this is your first, whenever you look the data set, this is the first thing you have to do. For any data set, you have to do the first business moment decision, right? So let us see how you can calculate those things in Python. The simple way is that we are not pulling it from anywhere, right? I am referring to MBA data set. where I have the square brackets, it means that I want to work with GMAT column, right? On the GMAT column, I want to do a mean operation here. So if I just do mean operation here, it gives me the mean. So what is the other way I told you here? You can even use a dot extension, MBA.GMAT.mean. This way also would give you the same answer. Now, how do you check whether the mean what you got is correct or not? You check with median value. Median value is nothing but the middlemost value in your data. Similarly, you are referring to data set MBA, GMAT column, and median. Run it. See here, the mean is 711 and it is 710. Both are nearly equal. Maybe there are no outliers in your data, right? No outliers. Now, if you want to know mode, mode is what? It will give you the most repeated number. How many people got 700? How many people got 650? How many people got 710? The most repeated value will be displayed here in the column of GMAT. So we got here 710 is what is repeated maximum number of times. Right? Now, after you find out this, you have something called like second moment business decision. That is, it will tell you how is your spread of your data. How is your data spread across the total, like you have like this. So much data is there here. So you got some mean value here, average. Some mean is known to you. How is your data, other data points? If this is your mean, you are having these values across. So how is the spread here? From the center, very far away from the center. Very far away from the center. So what you have to do is, you will calculate the distance from this to your data point. This to your data point. This to your data point. All the distances are calculated here. Then what happens is that when you calculate the distance, you should get for all the data points. So you do an average. So you try to calculate the spread of your data from the center. So this is your mean, this is your x. So x minus mu by n. N is what? All the data points. X is your this data point. Mu is this. So this is how you calculate the average. But when you do x minus mu, you have positive values, you have negative values. When you do summation of all these values, they get cancelled off, right? Positive and the negative values. For that reason, you are doing a square of it. That is nothing but your variance. This will help you to understand how is your spread of your data. Like, it is near to the center or it is far away from the center, right? So how it got dispersed is what is understood in your second moment business decision. So to just take a call whether the data is nearly equal to mean or it is away from the mean, to take a decision for your businesses, you have to capture this moment of decision. So you got the square here. To get back to original values, you do a variance of square root, which is nothing but your standard deviation. When you are doing squaring here, see, if you have a data set like this, let me remove all this. You have when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? What is the center here? How do you calculate mean here? Mu here. That is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is your mean. 3 plus 2, 5, 6, 6 plus 4, 10, 15 by 5. It is 3. So this is my x1, x2, x3, x4, x5. 1 minus 3 minus 2. right? 2 minus 3 minus 1, 3 minus 1, 0, because I should do x minus mu, right? 4 minus 3, 5 minus 3, 2. Add up, I should summation, no, I should do summation. Sigma x minus mu by n is what I should do for variance. 2, 1, on everything gets cancelled, you get 0. So we are unable to capture the variance there. Because of that reason, you are putting a square to it and doing the summation. So you get it here 4, 1, 0, 1, 4. 4 plus 1, 5, 5, 10. 10 by n. You are getting the variance as 2. Positive variance. To get back to it, to get back, this square should go off, no? You are doing whatever you have captured. Whatever you have captured, that is a variance. If you do the square root of that, you get to get back to the original value. Because when you do this, if it is weight 1 kilo, 2 kilo, 3 kilo, 5 kilo. What is this? If you do variance calculation, it is kilo square. What is this kilo square? No one knows, right? To get back to this, you put a square root and it is nothing but the standard deviation. Let's do that. That will give you how is your data spread across throughout the 773 observations. Sorry. See the variance here, 860. To get back this, root of variance would give you standard deviation. So the basic thing is that every time you have to do this. Otherwise, it would not. It is not the way you have to work with the data. Right? So one way is that you have calculated the variance, you have calculated the standard deviation. Done. If at all you want to calculate that particular variance, you can even do it from NumPy package. Normally also it is available. You can do it from NumPy package also. Right? Why is a slight difference? You will be understanding in a moment. Right? Even NumPy package, I gave the nickname as what? NP. Right? If you see a standard deviation also, there will be slight change here, 33 and 32. What it is, we'll see in a moment. Right? So you should always know what is the range of your values in your data. You should know what is the range, what is the maximum value, what is the minimum value. So how do you do that? Maximum function, where or what you want to do? MBA in GMAT column. Minimum MBA GMAT column. If you do, you'll get the range. If you just write it, you can get the range of your total data set. Right? So when you're working with this data set, this is done. So what you have to do is, let us see the visualizations. Okay, when you see the visualizations, we have to go for which package? Matplotlib. So Matplotlib has PyPlot as giving a nickname as PLT. See here, you got a documentation in the help page here. PyPlot is mainly intended for interactive plots. Okay, PyPlot is mainly for the interactive plots. Okay, what I have to do, I should use this PLT now. So let me run this. So in Matplotlib, PyPlot is a submodule. In this total PyPlot, you are giving a nickname as PLT. Okay, so there are many visualizations here which will help you to understand the data better. See, if you have mean value, you have median value, but if you look at, see, if you teach by looking at the visualization, it would be more impressive and more good to understand the insights. Okay, so we have already done in NumPy, not required here. So I want to do a plot using a function called one plot, which is nothing but a bar plot. Okay, so what is that I'm doing? I want to do a bar plot for education. This is not education, it should be MBA. Right? I take it as MBA.gmat And what you want to arrange here, your x-axis should be starting from 1, right, end it till 774 with a difference of 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 till 774 I want. I'm asking the x-axis to be that. What is the height? Take this column, GMAT column, print me according to that height, which value is 720, which value is 640, how many times it got repeated, it will be printed for me. So if you see here, see what inserts you can draw from this plot. Very clumsy, right? Only you can see some change in the color here. Not much inferences. So better, okay, we'll not use this. Okay, what we'll do is we'll just use one more plot called as histogram. So histogram is a plot where it will select bins in itself. It will take bins in itself, and what it will do is it will divide that particular total data into bins, and it will give you how is the data spread across. If you see, just what is the thing you have to do? Type PLT, put hist, right? And it gives you the GMAT score here. See, this is called as bins, 600 to 620, 620 to 640. How it is calculating? It is calculating internally, and it is giving you the information about all the values from 600 to 775. So how it is doing? You have only one column here. Only GMAT column you are working upon. What is the other axis then? Other axis is your, where's the plot? The other y-axis would be your frequency. How many people have scored 600? How many people have scored 625? This is the height, represents the frequency. So mean is what? 711. Right? If you see here, 700 to 725, maximum people have scored. That's why you have a very good peak here. But when you come to 600 to maybe here 690, very few people are there in this particular range. Maybe people who got 700 to 715 or 725, you can give them saying that I'll give you 10% off on your fees. Right? You can take a call because these are the marks. Such inferences you can draw. Similar to this visualization, you have something called as skewness. You have third business moment decision here, right, which talks about the skewness. You have two moments here called as third and fourth. So both are called as shape statistics. Both are called as shape statistics. Why? Because by looking at the shape, you can say that how is the spread, what decisions you can take. So that's why skewness and this one. If you see now histogram, you got a graph like this, right? Like this, right? But what do you understand? You understand that people are getting marks in this, and these people are not studying well. They didn't get good score here. So if you calculate skewness, the value, whatever you are getting here, 0 or some value, positive value or negative value, will help you to understand how is the concentration of your data. If you just write here, skewness, right? It can be left skew, it can be right skewed. If it is no skewness, everything is equal, you call it as a normal skew. Similarly, you have the fourth business moment decision. By looking at a histogram, you can say that how is the spread of your data, right? How you can say that, how is the spread of your data? You can have a data like this. You can have the data like this, right? This is a peak. These are called as tails, right? The value what you get here out of this kurtosis, which is called as a fourth business moment decision, right, will help you to understand which are why these. If you talk about the sales See, what are the daily sales at the retail store? People buy milk, people buy curd, people buy bread, few things which on daily basis, there's a huge increase in the sales. But what are these tail part? Maybe the things which are getting sold out once in a while, in a month, right? Groceries, something else like soaps, everything. All the things are here. But the peak is what? So you can add some offers if you have the peak value, right? So by looking at these values, you will get some idea. Now, if you see like this, people are buying sanitizers, people are buying sanitation products, people are buying food, like milk products, people are buying what you call as daily commodities also. So the spread is even. Everyone is willing to buy all the things. There is no tail like thing here. It's like this. You have a graph like this. So what inferences you draw? Okay, it's equal. There is no much inferences. You have to give offers on all these, or you have to take pick and give on a selected product any offer. Such inferences you can draw from the plot. So that by visualization means you do a histogram. If you want to know by value, you calculate skewness and kurtosis. These are the two which will help you to understand the data. Let's see what if you do skewness, what if you do kurtosis. See here, now I do for work experience. Let me do skewness for this value. See, it is negative skew. If you see, if I do a plot here, see, the data is concentrated at what point? Negative skew means, see, if you just try to join this, like this, right? Total negative side. The value here is minus 0.5 because the same thing is replicating in your graph. It's a negative skew, right? So people who are in this range, right, are like, you can say that they are out of your range, right? Not studied well, maybe they didn't answer well, luck didn't give them good answers, Inky Pinky Ponky didn't work, right? Maybe they scored very less marks there, right? They scored like that. Because of that reason, maybe their marks are less. Such inferences you draw from skewness and histogram, right? You can even do for other column also, right? If you do for work experience column, see here, people who have the experience of this are on the line, almost 0. But if you try to draw the graph here, see, most of the people are having an experience at this value, at this range. It went down. Now tell me what would be the skewness. Which skewness do you refer to now? Yeah, I want the answers from you guys now. Friends, tell me what will be the skewness in the chat. You can drop. What would be the skewness?
The positive direction.
Yes, exactly, sir. So it is a positive skewness here. So what inferences you draw from this positive skewness? It means that people who are from this corner to that corner, right? If you just run this, we have the plot, right? It is people, most of them are negative, right? So you call it as a positive skew. Now, when you look at this data here, sometimes what happens, I told you, when mean and median are somewhere around nearly equal or not, right? You can't say that mean and median is equal. What you have to do is, there is a plot which will help you to understand this. There's something called like box plot. So this box plot will help you to understand, do your data has any out of band range data? If I just do PLT, and how am I talking? Box plot is box plot. Just do this and run this. See here, when you look at the data, no one can tell that this data has outliers. But when you saw histogram, there was some kind of peak at from 600 to 600 was touching like tails. Remember? The same thing is represented in box plot, but it is giving you circles here. So if I want to explain it, this particular plot, this will help you to understand this. These are your outliers. They're not in your range. Entire data is somewhere here. These people are here, out of your band. Okay. So this box plot has a feature that it will print and take all the data, 100% of the data it will take and it will print for us. But when it starts printing, it will accommodate 50% of the data here. It will accommodate 50% of the data in this box region. So this orange line, what you are seeing, it is Q2. It is called as median of your data. It is called as median. So these lines you are seeing here, these are called as whiskers. Right? This is on the lower side, no? Lower whisker. This is on the upper side, you call it as upper whisker. So here 25% data, here 25% data. In this box region, you have 50% of the data concentrated. Right? 50% of the data concentrated. So this is called as Q2, no? This is Q1, this is Q3, and this is Q4. What is this Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4? It is called as quantile region. So most of the data would be there in this region. That is 50% of the data. Rest of the data is concentrated here and there, top and bottom here, right? And you call it as quantile. Okay. So what happens is that this is called as IQR region, interquartile region. Okay. So what it is, you have Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR. If any value is crossing this, right, this limit, that will be printed for you as a 0, as an outlier. Any value which will cross this, and on the bottom side, if it is less than Q1 minus 1.5 into IQR, that is called as outlier. That will be given for you as an outlier in this range. Greater than this, less than this. So the primary solution for us from this particular box plot is, it will give you outliers. And if you just remove everything and if you try to find out, let me put it in a reverse way here. Horizontal. Not popping up. Okay. It's not working here. Let's see. Okay, it's not having this. Okay, in R you can do that. I don't think so. It's we don't have this function here. Okay. That function is not available here. Gmat, boxplot.gmat, right? Yeah. So this is only one here. If you just try to draw this, right? The look and feel would be like the same like a histogram, right? This is how you have to infer. So let us even check for the work experience. Do we find anything? How do you write PLT dot box plot? What I want to do is I should do MBA dot work experience. See, it's popping up nicely for us. Very helpful. So you need not write if any case sensitive letters are there. Oh my God, see how many outliers you have here in work experience. Entire data is still here only. All these dots are your outliers in the data. So how do you work with these outliers? Do you think they really are important for us? Yes, absolutely they are important for us. Why? Because you take entire data here, right? You take entire data and those will impact your data and will give you wrong analysis is done on your data. Okay, wrong analysis is done on that particular data. So what you have to do is when you run this, you can take a call that you will club all these values. You'll club all these values into one data set. And this data would be a second data set. You should work individually and then club the insights of both. Two data sets you will prepare and you have to work on it because this will influence your data and your analysis will go wrong. Okay. Yeah. And one more thing, what I want to tell you here is for any data, because when you come across this types of data, right? You have many types of data collected, right? You have continuous data, right? Continuous data means you have for the desired accuracy, you can calculate them. If I say weight can be 74 kgs dot so much till desired accuracy you can calculate. If I say age, you will just can write from day, how many hours, how many minutes, what is your age. So what happens is that many statisticians, many researchers, many of the data scientists, they assume that everything is normal. We all know that nothing is normal with us, right? Nothing goes normal in our lives, right? Everything ups and downs are always there with us. But they have assumed that everything is normal. So the condition here is any data you are working upon which is continuous in nature. Okay, any data which is continuous, that data should be normal. That data should be normal. Okay, if that is not normal, your the way you approach with the data or work with the data would be different. So how do you check whether the data is normal or not? You have to check, right, whether the data is normal or not. For that, you have a plot called as QQ plot. That is quantile plot. Just now I drew the box plot, right? It is called as a quantile plot. So you have the box region, which is Q1 and Q3. So this is having 50% of the data, right? This data, if that particular data which is falling in this range is in the form of this, in this line, then you consider it is continuous and it is normal. Anyway, it is continuous, but it is normal. So when you draw a line like this, it is linear. And when you plot this particular plot, quantile plot, all the data points should fall on this line. Right? All these data points should fall on this line. If it falls, then you say that it is normal. You can work with that particular data with conditions are normal here. Suppose you have the line here, this is the line interquartile region, and you have the data like this. It means that it is not satisfying you the condition. Whatever statisticians have worked these days, you can't apply on your data. All the functionalities you can't apply on the data because it is not normal. So any data you collect, if it is continuous, you check for yourselves and check whether it is normal or not. So if a curve is like this and you have 0 in between, equally distributed this side and this side, this is called as a bell-shaped curve. This is called as normal curve. Like just now we have seen, no? Tail this side, tail this side. Right? You have long tail. So these are not normal because it is being carried away, this side and this side. But you want it to be normal if it is a bell-shaped curve. So if you want to check with bell-shaped curve, good. But exclusively we have a plot for us, that is QQ plot, that is normal quantile plot, which will help you to understand whether your data is normal or not. And it is compulsory for any continuous data to check whether it is normal or not. Why? Means people have assumed that it is normal. It is normally distributed throughout it is normally distributed. For this, you have to go for SciPy, as I told you, advanced calculations, right? From that, you are taking stats as a submodule. So every package will have some submodules, that is stats. You are giving the nickname as stats here. Okay. So this stats, from the stats, again, I'm doing Matplotlib PyLab here once again. I would like to pull one plot called as probability plot. Right? What is the probability? We'll see. So education, my data set is MBA.GMAT. What is the normality you want to check? This is a normality. Plot is for PyLab. If you just see this, see here. This is a line what I was talking about. See the data here. Most of the data is, see this amount of data is not in the line. This is not in the line. So this is acceptable because all the data are on the line, right? So let us understand now what is probability and why we are studying all these things, how it is important for our statistics. Okay, just in a minute, I'll open. So we have to understand what is inferential statistics. So you all know that we have many data types. Any data can be continuous. The data can be what you call it as discrete. Data can be count data, right? You count it. What do you count? You can count number of cars, right? Number of votes now Trump got, right? Percentage of votes he just now got. So that is nothing but your count data. How many chocolates did you purchase? How many people have attended today? That is your count data, right? You can perform mathematical operations on that. So now when you have categorical data, if you go for a type of flower, right? You can have type of flower, different species are there, right? You will have different species, like you have versicolor, one species, right? Virginica, right? You have setosa. These are different categories of one single flower called as iris, right? So one species of this color as iris. These are nothing but called as categorical data. If I just say now, like, you know, suppose I have returned from office and my kid is at the door and she just asked me, what did you bring for me, mama? Then what I told her, I bought you ice cream. The next question she asked me, how many ice creams did you bring? I said 5. What is that data? It's a count data. I'm talking about the quantity here. The next question will be, did you bring the same flavor of ice creams? Then I say, no, I bought one butterscotch, one strawberry, and one vanilla flavor. That is talking about the quality of your data. So whenever client gives us the data, you should be able to understand the data type. Accordingly, we will move upon. So similarly, you have data types like you can have decimal number, continuous data, you'll have categorical data, and these are the main things we come across. And you segregate your further steps of model building or machine learning also in a different way, right? So you have something called like scales of measurement, what you see on my screen here, the scales of measurement. That is, you have nominal data, ordinal data, interval, and ratio. So what is nominal data? Your name, my name, it is a name. You can't do any analysis on name. If you have collected the name of the students who are attending, or the students in your class, it is a nominal data. You don't perform anything. When you come to ordinal, your gate numbers at the airport, right? The ranks given by you to the students, it maintains some order. That is your ordinal data. But when it comes to interval, it is subjective in nature. If I just give an example of interval, I say that, oh my God, this guy is very, very good at communication, and his IQ levels are, oh my God, excellent. It is your perception, no? You feel that he is having good IQ levels, right? Your perception is that you are having good IQ levels. But for me, maybe, okay, it's an average. So it is your own person. It is like relative comparison. You are doing a relative comparison between two things, right? For me, at Hyderabad, it is like maybe 28 or 30 degrees Celsius. For me, it is like, okay, normal. The weather is cool, good enough. But the person who is at US, and if 30 degrees is what for him, right? Oh my God. He says, what is this? Why is the sun, why it is so bright today and brighter day? Why it is so hot today? So it is his perception, because it is changing. It is relative comparison. But when you come to ratio, it is universal. Everywhere it is the same. For you at Hyderabad or for me at US, anywhere it is ratio is ratio. You don't say that for me this rate, if I want to buy any textbook, it costs $2. Throughout the world, the cost of that particular storybook or that particular novel or whatever it is the same. It is called as ratio. Mostly preferred data in data science is ratio type. Least preferred is nominal data. So nominal data means it can be the persons who are entering into the hospital, right? That is the ID given to you when you just get enrolled and you come for the first time. What analysis you will do on that? No one will prefer it. Order is nothing but you give ranks, sometimes the positions, right? You want to scale. Now, if I say that a person, if I just want to I want to give an increment, right, a hike to one employee. So one TL is very harsh and he's very strict enough, very sincere, and he'll never give anyone good score. He'll give 2 or 3 out of 5, right? But the other team leader, he's very soft, kind-hearted. He gives 4. That 4 here and 2 there, right? Are they equal? For according to him, that value of 2 for the team leader 1, right, is the TL1 is giving you 2. TL2 for a different person, Mr. A got 2. Now Mr. B is from different team, he got 4. These 2 will be equal for us? Or if the 4 given by him and 4 given by him, isn't any difference? Though he leniently does his work, because of his kind-heartedness, he got 4. He's very straight, hard-working, very punctual, good amount of skills are there for him. He got 4 here. So what does that mean? It means that when you have 4 and 4 here, perception levels are different. Interval concept. Ratio means you can perform any kind of operations on this. These are the operations you can perform on the type of data you have. You can calculate mean, median, mode, right? Frequency, percentage, all kinds of statistical analysis. You can perform on that. So this is very, very important before we perform any kind of analysis here. Okay, next, let's move on here. Now, what is probability for us? What is probability? Whenever this word comes into our mind, the first thing is that we all are scared of this probability, the word probability. Right? What is probability? Yeah. What is probability?
Can I tell, ma'am?
Sorry, I didn't understand. समझ में नहीं आया.
What is probability?
Yeah.
What is probability?
Yeah, what is probability?
Probability is it's an outcome of any event.
Yeah, it's the outcome of any event. But whenever we talk about probability, right, we all know that your choice is different, whatever you want, right? Absolutely correct, sir. Thank you. So what you are talking here is, we are trying to, when you roll a die or when you toss a coin. So what happens here when you are tossing a coin? Either you get a head or you get a tail. Right? Either you get a head or you get a tail here. So what happens is that your chance can be head or a tail. Both can't happen at a time. Right? We don't have a Sholay coin here. So head and tail, if it is a head. So what is my desired one? Head. It is on the top. Out of how many outcomes, how many possibilities are there? 2 possibilities are there here. So you get the answer as 1/2. Suppose if you roll a die, how many outcomes are possible? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 possibilities are, 6 chances are there, right? That will be always in the denominator. But what is that I'm asking here? If it is bigger than 3, right? If it is bigger than 3, then what is that? X being greater than 3. But now what is this X? Tell me, what is this X? What is X here?
X is the outcome. Means what
Outcome
is
is
the value
3.
we are coming? What is the value we are getting from this throwing the dice?
Okay, what is the outcome you are getting? This. But one thing what you have to understand is, okay, sir, thank you. So what is that you understand here is, whenever you're talking about this X is random, right? It's a random variable. Okay, X is called as a random variable. It will not have any pattern, right? It does not have any pattern. It's just like you just close your eyes. You don't know it is head or a tail, right? It is only a numerical outcome you have. It will not have any random, means no pattern, right? It should like it may go, it may be 1 or it may be 2. Not always it will be 2. No order is maintained here, right? You may get 1 sometimes, you may get 2 sometimes, you may get 3. Is this order maintained? First time you have rolled the die, you get 1. Second time you should get 2. Is there anything like that? No. So when you have such instances, you call that particular variable X denoted by X as random variable. You call it as a random variable. So now P of X It's a random variable if it is greater than 3. So this is nothing but random. Why? Because there is some chance which is associated with the possible value. What is the chance associated with this 3? How many I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, till 6. 6 possibilities are there, but out of which x being greater than 3. Right? You have x being greater than 3. What is that? So you have how many chances? 4, 5, 6. We didn't say equal to, right? The chance 4 can come, 5 can come, 3 can come. How many possibilities are there? 4 can come, 5 can come, 6 can come. So 3 possibilities are there. So desired value by total number of outcomes is nothing but, you call it as P of x greater than 3. So you have 3 possibilities. By total, it gives you 1/2. So now can someone help me with the answers for the rest of them? Equal to or bigger than 3? Yeah. You can just drop your answers in the chat.
2/3.
1 minute. Oh, where is mine? Yeah. Okay. So equal to or greater than 3 is, you get how many?
2/3.
4/6, right? 4/6, it is 2/3.
2/3.
Smaller than 4?
3. 1, 2, 3. Half.
Yeah.
1/2.
Yeah, half. Greater than, now if it is greater than 2 and less than 6. Let me write it here.
Half.
Right? P of x should be greater than 2, but it should be less than 6 also. So in between 2 and 6.
3/6
3,
equal to
4, 5.
5.
3 values will come, no? Between 2 and 6. 3 values. So denominator would be 6 as it is, but numerator would change to 3. It is nothing but 1/2. So this is how you calculate the probability. Very good. We all know this. But what is that? Why we are studying this probability as of now? Because some concepts here are behind this probability. There is something called as probability distribution. You have something called like probability distribution. So how is your probability distributed? Once you calculate probability, how it is distributed throughout that particular pattern? Is there any pattern being maintained or not? Is what you have to check. So whenever you try to do this, right, what you have to do, you will calculate the probability. See here, these are the daily sales of Apple iPad at one store. So day 1, 0 sales. Day 2, 4 iPads got sold. Day 3, 2 iPads got sold. Day 4, 3 iPads have got sold. Like that, you have the data. So what they have done is they have calculated that 40% out of 100, there are no sales. At 40% of, if you take 100 data, 100 days data, right? You have no sale. 40% there is no sale only for him. Zero Apple iPads are sold here. Like one Apple pad got sold, how much? 25%. 2 Apple iPads, 20%. 3, 5%, and this is 10%. 4. So if you just do that particular plot, right, you will have a distribution like this. See, 0 is what? It is an event. And y-axis is your probability calculation. Probability of no sale on that particular day. No sales. Probability of one Apple iPad got sold. Probability of 2 Apple iPads got sold. Probability of 3 sold, 4 sold. Like this. You have the calculation. If at all you are trying to plot it, you will get a distribution of that particular probability. That is called as probability distribution. You call it as probability distribution. So it's nothing but is a single event by total number of events. Good. We all know that it's a single event and it is by total number of events you're calculating the probability. Right? But whenever you try to calculate it, right, you calculate it in the form of a percentage. So 40%, 25%, 20%. You try to do a plot on it so that you'll understand the distribution of the data. That is, your y-axis will be probability, x-axis will be the event occurrence. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? This is your probability distribution. So always you have to, if you get a distribution like this, you should now take a call that, okay, we have no Apple iPad sale for 40%. So it's very huge. You should put offers. Which days you don't have the sales, you track that days. You just track that and you say that, okay, 6th day, no Apple iPad got sold. So what are the days? The consecutive days are noted down. And what you do is that you take a call on, just think of what you have to do on that. What strategies you should put so that you will have to move upon and increase your sales. Now tell me, what is the probability of sale here? For looking at this particular table, what is the probability of sale? 0 sales is 0.40. So 1 TV, 1 Apple iPad or 2 Apple iPad or 3, all these are your sales only. Right? All these are your sales. So you add up 0.25 plus 0.20 plus 0.05 plus 0.10. If you add all these, right, you will get the probability of sales. If you add up all these, it will be equal to 1. Or else what you can do? 1 minus probability of no sale. So 1 minus 0.40. This also will give you your answer here. Right? Now what is the probability of selling at least 3 Apple iPads? Probability of selling at least 3. At least 3 means? Will you take 3 or not? Will you consider 3 or not? Tell me.
Including 3. Actually,
You will include it?
3.
At least 3.
At
3
least
means
3 minimum.
3 or
Minimum
more,
3.
right? 3 or more. Correct?
Yeah.
At least 3 means 3 or more. Or 3 or less.
3 or more. At least 3 or more.
Yeah, it is at least 3 or more. Okay. So what is that we are into this is, whenever we say probability, you are saying that your desired value, right? We are saying that the desired value by your outcome. Good. But when I say that, whenever you're talking about this is your target for day, right? You try to identify the bunch of outcomes. You try to take which is having more chance. So 1 is having more chance, or 2 sales are having more chance, 3 sales are having more chance, or 4 sales are having more chance. Right? This is what you have to remember. And also, with respect to probability, sum of all these possible values will be equal to 1. Right? P of x, right? Okay, 1 minute. If you do summation of all the probabilities, it will be always equal to 1. And this value will never cross. It will always be between 0 and 1. The probability value you have calculated will always be 1. Right? When I say that if I'm rolling a die, the total probability will be equal to 1. But among that 1, what is the chance or what is the probability? How is it got distributed? That is this probability distribution. That is what is this. So how many times 1, how many times 2, how many times 3, how many times 4? Right? So x-axis, we always have events. Y-axis, you are calculating the probability. Okay, so where we are using this probability distribution, let us see that. Where do you use this actually? Why are we studying? So these are the two people here, Angelina Jolie and Amanda Knox here. These two are very good applications of probability. This lady, she has undergone a surgery due to the prediction. The doctor has predicted that she may prone to cancer. She was not undergoing that treatment because she was having cancer, but they have predicted that. Predicted means maybe, the chance, right? So she has undergone a surgery, breast cancer surgery, and not because of the cancer. There is a chance for her to get cancer here. So doctors estimated that 87% there is a chance for her to that if she will not undergo operation, eventually she may have some problem regarding this gene, right? So the calculations which you see here, right, you have a very good article. Because of this reason we are studying here. I think it was on BBC News. See, she has a preventive double mastectomy. It's something related to breast cancer. So statisticians have calculated and they said that an estimated 12% of the women, 120 out of 1,000, would develop this cancer. So what happened is that through the testing, whatever they performed on her, the risk was about 50% risk of ovarian cancer, and like that she has got 87% of risk for this breast cancer. See here, 87%. So because of this prediction, right, we people as a data scientist, they have predicted that because of that reason she has undergone surgery in advance. That is where the data scientist job will come into picture. So when you go and look at this another lady, you know, she is Amanda Knox. She was put behind jail only because she was under the case, you know, that 13 deaths were there on her name, and a person who worked for this, who have given a testimonial for her, is that he's a data scientist. He predicted wrongly that she is behind that particular 13 deaths. So because of that reason, her life went behind the bars. She was put under bars, and you know, at a later point of time, maybe after 8 years or something, they got to realize that she is innocent and they left her. But the concept here is the people who are able to make up the life of a lady or human or any business are the data scientists who are ready to break down or the life of a person or life of an organization is also a data scientist. Right? We are the people, the data scientists are the one who are making and breaking the rule of the life of an organization. If it have predicted properly, the statistician, that he had took wrong analysis he has done. He just gave that, no, she is the one who is behind that. You have to put her in jail. Right? So that's why we say that, yes, we should take the responsibility. Right? So great power always will come with what? Great responsibilities. If you are into good power, means your responsibilities are also increasing day by day, and your decision would make really a value to your business or the organization, right? I think 6 years of her life, she went in prison because of the wrong calculation of a statistician. How bad it is, right? So let us understand the same concept, put it into this inferential statistics concepts here, right? What is this inferential statistics? See the funnel type thing here. It's a funnel, right? I call it as a sampling funnel. Okay. Now, here few things are there. Let me ask you. See, you have to now the vaccine. If suppose from medical background, we have few friends working upon, so they want to test their vaccine, right? How do they test the vaccine? Do they have to test on all the people across, right? They can't do it, right? So if you just restrict yourself to a country, if this is India, right? Do you test on all the people over India, the COVID-19 vaccine? Who will come up? What about the side effects? Right? So the entire population, entire people who are living in our country will come under population. Right? Will come under population. So when you talk about this population, good. Everyone, you, me, everyone are under this. But on whom you would like to apply or you want to do research, right? On whom you would like to do research, that is you will pick few people, right? You pick few people. So if you leave about this as world, if you just restrict ourselves to entire world will be the population data for us. So when you want to work with the vaccine, right, you will not work on entire people, you select few countries, right? When you're doing some clinical trials, you not work with all the country, you just pick few countries. Maybe seeing the financial background of the countries, poor countries are taken into consideration, where people will take some money and they try to, they allow you to do research on them. Because, clinical trials, it takes years to prepare one vaccine, and it should satisfy all the conditions, right? So that unique condition you put on this world, total world, is a sampling frame. It's a unique thing, unique condition, what you put on this particular country. So what you put here, you put a condition saying that maybe yourself, right? You assume that you want to work with people in US, UK, Dubai, right? You just want to Oman. Some countries you select, putting some unique condition. You select these things. So out of population, you got filtered out, right? Maybe if I put India, Canada, right? So you got filtered out with these, right? Now what happens when you were picking this set of countries by putting some unique condition? That unique condition is called as sampling frame. From the sampling frame, you will apply some technique to give vaccine to only few selected people of these countries. Not all people in US, not all people in UK. What you do? That is called as simple random sampling. Simple random sampling. It means that a technique called as SRS technique. You close your eyes and you pick them randomly. You close your eyes and you pick few people from this country, this country, this country. You pick them. You mix up them all, right? That people whom you have taken by closing your eyes will become your sample. That 100 people you are taking or 1,000 people you are taking, that will, from how much total world you have 100. So you apply, give vaccine, provide them vaccine, you will put them under observation. Whatever results you see about one vaccine, maybe we have worked with paracetamol, Indians, right? If you see that this vaccine You have worked with this 100 people. The results what you get, you say to the entire population. You say that, hey, I have worked with this vaccine and it is working good with entire world people. You didn't take entire world. You took only a few people from different countries by applying a condition, right? That is, you are inferring something, right? And you are giving the results. Whatever results you say, that results will be applied to entire data. Got it? If you leave about this COVID at least, if you just see 120 crore people are there and you are having exit poll survey. Now in US it is happening, right? You have an exit poll survey being conducted, right? So do you go to each and everyone's house and ask, hey, whom you will think which party will win? Hey, whom you will think which party will win? Do you think this party will win or this party will win? Will you do that? Is it possible? Never ever. कभी भी ऐसा नहीं हो सकता, because when you have 120 crore लोग हैं यहाँ पे, so when you take this 120 crore, you will not, कभी भी 120 crore को नहीं पूछते. क्या पूछना है? You have to select few people here. कुछ लोगों को लेना है आप. कुछ लोगों को कैसे ले सकते? You can take किस लोगों को वोटर आईडी है, किस लोगों के पास आधार है, राइट? किन लोगों को 18 इयर्स क्रॉस हो गए. These are the 3 questions you will इन लोगों को पूछते आप लोग, those who are there. So that this is what you put here. यहाँ पे रखते आप, ये कंडीशन रखते, तो आधा से आधा लोग are gone, right? From 120 crore hardly you will get some 10 crore बच जाते ना, ये जिन लोगों के पास like you know citizenship, जिसके पास citizenship है, जिसके पास वोटर आईडी है, जिसके पास आधार कार्ड है, all that got filtered out and only 10 crore people. For this also you will, कोई भी नहीं पूछते ना 10 करोड़ के लोगों के पास जाके आपको who will think that which party will win, कौन सा पार्टी अब स्कोर करेगी और will win, right? So what do you think? What you do is, if at all you are from a TV channel, A TV channel, and I am from channel B, TV channel B है, right? Channel B, channel A. So channel A को एक X पार्टी पसंद है, बहुत X पार्टी पसंद है. So what और क्या करता है, 10 करोड़ों से लोगों से जो ये पार्टी के लिए अच्छा बोलेगा, उन लोगों के पास से लेता फीडबैक. Like you know, they know that उन लोगों का पता है कि they will tell good about this party. इन लोगों के बारे में अच्छा ही बोलेगा, उनके मालूम है ये चैनल को. So he will take from him. But what I will do, I am very sincere, very good, and what I do is, मैं ना आंखें बंद करके लूंगी ये 10 करोड़ लोगों के पास से. I'll take 100 people. I'll close my eyes. आंखें बंद करके 10 लोगों को लेके I'll ask him, do you think X will win or Y will win? कौन जीतेगा, X or Y? Right? What is happening here? ये ना आंसर जो ये लोग देते, that is not correct answer. Not correct means it will not give any value. That is called as biased sampling. If I ask my feedback, right, whosoever like me, I'll ask. जो लोग मेरे पसंद करते हैं उन लोगों से पूछे तो क्या बोलते हैं, हे अच्छे ही बोलती ना, ना बोलते. But if I pick, close my eyes and pick few people, आके बंद करके पूछे तो क्या बोलते हैं, you will get the right answer, right? How are you teaching, right? That is called as, when you close your eyes and you talk, it is called as unbiased sampling. You call it as unbiased. So what is that called as? Is SRS. Simple, randomly एक बैग में balls रखे हम लोग, रेड कलर बॉल्स रखे, ग्रीन कलर बॉल्स रखे, आंखें बंद करके निकाल रहे. कौन सा भी बॉल निकल सकता, वो बॉल से खेलना है हम लोगों को. That's why they call it as blindfolded technique. This will give you अच्छा results, right? Very good results here. Those 5 balls if you are picking, that will become your sample, right? So these 100 crore people में से आके बंद करके 100 people को लिए हम लोग. So 100 people will say that X party will win. So you will telecast saying that entire भारत चाहती है कि X party जीते. हम लोग सर्वे कंडक्ट कर रहे हैं, X party जीतेगी. That is inferential statistics. You are inferring from कुछ लोगों से infer करके पूरा देश के लिए you are using that particular word, right? That is your inferential statistics. Whatever you are doing, whatever you are getting, we are working here, you will say that whole India would love to find him as PM. This party should win. But however, you are not working with entire, right? You are only picking few people of your choice. So X party may win, Y party may win, but whatever you are conducting as surveys, right? That is giving you the results. That is inferential statistics. It is biased. It may be unbiased sampling. And this is most important concept when you take, because putting an Aadhaar card, right? It will give you entire square. Putting an Aadhaar card column here. जिन लोगों के पास आधार कार्ड नहीं है, जाइए जाइए. So see here, out of big square, I got only this much amount of people. From this much amount of people, I'm closing my eyes and picking only 5 or 6 or 100. But I say that if I take 5 people for feedback, I say that no, the session is awesome. सब लोग बहुत पसंद करे, सब लोग in line है. बोल के पूरा session के बारे में I'll tell. All the people are saying that only this is the thing. That is inferential statistics, right? But the question is, कितने लोगों को आप लेते सैंपल में? 100 को लेते, 30 को लेते, 50 को लेते, कैसे लेते? आपकी मर्जी, आपके बिजनेस के हिसाब से आपको लेना है. When you take according to your business, if I ask you, Sriharikota, that is a station, Sriharikota, right? You go there and you say that how many rockets are launched. Will you take 10 samples? Hardly एक साल में 8 या 9 होते. उसमें से कौन सा अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं? You will take 3 as sample. Out of 10, you will say on 3, you will say that all the 10 are working good. अगर कोई छोटा वो बोल्ट्स रहते नहीं, डोर के बोल्ट्स ऐसे रहते बोल्ट, वो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी के पास जाके हाँ ये बोल्ट अच्छा है नहीं है कैसे मालूम करते? You will take 1 sample or 2 samples, 1000 samples. ये बिजनेस के सिनेरियो के हिसाब से यहाँ पे सैंपल साइज चूज करेंगे. ये बिजनेस के श्रीहरिकोटा में जाके उसके हिसाब से सैंपल साइज चूज करेंगे. No hard and core rule here to select your sample size. It's up to you. Changes from one business to other. Got it? So this is your inferential statistics. These are the most important concepts here. Got it? So we have seen mean, median mode. We have seen variance, standard deviation, range, and expected value. Expected value is nothing but you are trying to expect something. You are trying to find out something. Like, you know, you have infinite number of times you are doing. So let me tell you an example here. If you are working with, you are tossing a coin 100 times. 50 times head आएगा, 50 times tail आएगा. Maybe 50 was referral chances है. If you are doing it for 1000 times, 10,000 times, infinity times. See here, infinite number of times. So expected value is nothing but, it is nothing but a mean, average. But that average calculations you are taking for infinite number of times. That's why when you work for infinite number of times, you call it as a weighted average. What it is called as a weighted average. It's given by expected value of x. This is nothing but, see the formula, x dot p of x sigma. With variance also same formula. X, your mean, p of x. So any work you are doing, any event you are doing, that you are doing it for infinite number of times, you take the average of all the outcomes. You know what is average, right? All the outcomes, 1,000 times you take the average, 10,000 times, infinite number of times, the value, expected value will be the same. That's why you call it as weighted average. Got it? This is called as weighted average. Okay. So here we'll end our basics of Python and inferential statistics concepts. So any questions you can ask me. After the break, after the lunch break, we will see a different kind of analysis. So any questions, guys, friends? You can drop in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask me.
Yeah, participants, do you have any doubts? Or else, probably we can end the session.
Yeah, we can just connect at 2 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah, fine. Thank you, Deepti. We'll
Okay, ma'am.
come back at 2.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you so much. सबको समझ में आया होगा. Right, the concepts. We'll see how we'll use these concepts now. ये कैसे use करेंगे आप देखेंगे after lunch. Where we'll use this. Okay. So
Yeah, it was a great session, Deepti. And
thank you, ma'am.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Go
So
have fun.
we will again connect at 2.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all. Take break and come back. Let's